Hello, everybody, and welcome to my very, very first podcast. I am known on Tumblr as Trademark Nickerson Charm. My name is Austin, and for this series, I thought it would be fun to kind of sit down and talk with some of the Clue Crew members and talk about our ideal games in the series, since, Her Interactive is pretty much at a standstill right now, and we don't really know what's going on. So I thought it would be a really fun idea to just get a bunch of people together and talk about this situation and new ideas that might have emerged during this waiting time. But for our first episode, I am joined with somebody really, really special. One of the first people that I met on the website, and that would be...
Hi, Cami.
Cami, aka iwantakokokringle, who was one of the very first people that I've ever talked to on Tumblr, and we've been through a lot together, I would say.
Yeah, we go way back.
Like 2015, 2014, that time.
Yeah. So long ago.
So Cami, how long have you been playing the games?
Oh, since like around 2004, 2005, somewhere in there.
Well, so that was like Curse of Blackmore Manor time, wasn't it? Maybe a couple years before that. Yeah.
Well, I remember like when Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon, I think that was like one of the newer games that had been released.
Right.
It wasn't my first game, but like that was like a newer one, I think. And so, I mean, they were all new to me. What do I know? But
yeah, and what is your favorite game?
Oh, I didn't prepare for this. My favorite game. That's so hard. Probably Secret of Shadow Ranch.
Gotcha.
I just love the like historical romance backstory between Francis and Dirk. Plus, I'm from Arizona, and so it just has like a little special place in my heart,
Yeah, I used to not like it. It used to get on my nerves because of all of like the ways you can die. Like I felt like there was way too many death scenes in it, and they got on my nerves. But like now, I've grown up and I've kind of been socialized to like it, if that makes sense. Like I'm like, oh, everybody else likes it, maybe I should too. And so like now I've kind of like sat down and like reevaluated it, and now I love it, but I used to hate it. So that's really interesting. That's really interesting to hear you say. So what outside of the fandom do you like to do? Do you like to knit? I don't really know what you like to do, but do you like to like knit, teach? What do you do outside of the games?
I love to read, and so I'm in like a book club and do that, and I also really like to bake, and so I'm basically like a grandma.
So you like to bake a bunch of Shadow Ranch cakes, right?
I've never tried the Shadow Ranch cake. I need to.
It looks so good. It looks so great.
I've heard like mixed reviews of other people that have tried the recipe. Sometimes like people really love it and other people say it's trash. So I'm not sure what to believe.
Yeah, and so do you indulge a lot into outside of the games, like the movies or like the TV shows that have came out? Are you familiar with those at all?
A little bit. Like I've watched a couple, like the movie that came out in like, what was it, 2007 or something?
With Emma Roberts?
Yes, I've watched
I watched that movie so much as a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. And I liked it, and I like tried the CW show, but I only watched a couple episodes and then kind of gave up on it. But I know a lot of people really love it, but
I need to catch up on it. I just totally forgot to watch it anymore. And so my last question to you is, have you read a lot of the books?
I have read some. It was like when I was younger, I would like go check them out at the library a lot, and so I definitely went through a phase where I like read a bunch, but now I don't remember them. I own like the first 6 of the yellow hardbacks, and so those ones I'm most familiar with because I've like read them multiple times. But
yeah, those are the classics, like the first 6, the first like 10. I think Shadow Ranch is like book number 5, maybe 4. But like
I do have that one.
The first classics, yeah. Cool. So since this is a podcast totally creating a bunch of random ideas for games, I thought I would share what mine is, because I got to thinking I'm gonna always have a bunch of guests and like never talk about my personal like idea for a game. So I am like dead set that there should be a cruise game. And like
Oh, yes.
my idea, it's on my Tumblr, you've probably seen this idea, but like I am dead set on a cruise, and like it's like a spooky cruise, and like there's a bunch of famous authors on it. And so like Charlena Purcell invites Nancy to come on the cruise because it's like rumored to be like there's rumored to be like a haunted like with like a ghost girl, and the captain's daughter's like allegedly drowned, and that's who the ghost is. But there's a bunch of like random like authors, like it's a prestigious like Titanic type like cruise.
Oh my gosh, I
And
love this idea.
it's a bunch of like random authors, and like one of them's mystery, one of them's like fantasy. Then there's Charlena, and so like I think I called it the Clue of the Broken Porthole, and it's like a bunch of just like cruise activities, but it's a bunch of authors, and I just think it would be really, really like cool and macabre, and because like I love like Ghost of Thornton Hall, and like so I'm trying to like kind of go towards that vibe, and then plus I was so sad that the Ship of Shadows game got canceled,
Yes.
and so like I'm like okay, so I'm gonna like merge those two faves together and create this, but like it's like the Return of Charlena, and it's like a ghost, and it's just I think it would be a lot of fun. A lot
I
of
would play that. Yeah.
I would play it too. I would make it, and then I would play it every night and be like, I made this, you know. Uh, but of course, we are here to talk about your kind of dream game. So kind of let's get introduced. What do you think? Where would you like to see her go in the future?
Okay, so this dream game idea that I've kind of come up with is mostly based on a location, which is Belgium.
Ooh.
Yes, so
Fun.
my dad actually lived in Belgium for 2 years, serving a mission for our church. And so like as a kid, he would like tell us all stories, and he had like a bunch of things he had like brought from Belgium. Like he had these like wooden clogs and things like that. And so I just like grew up hearing about it and how amazing it was, and I always wanted to go, but it's like, when am I ever really going to get to go to Belgium, right? And so
Right.
I always like thought Nancy should go there so I can experience it in a virtual way at least.
Yeah, and plus you've got like Belgian chocolates and a bunch of fun stuff that you can incorporate.
Right, yeah. And I was actually, so in like October of 2019, a friend of mine was like, we should go to Europe. And I was like, great, I'd love to. We were going to go to Belgium, and then we had planned to go in October of 2020. So you can imagine how that
Yeah, then
worked out.
COVID hit, coronavirus hit, and the
Yeah,
universe was like, no, no Cami in Belgium this year.
I know.
But
So the
hopefully
dream
some
was
year.
so close, but yet
Yeah,
so far to
hopefully
go.
some year you'll be there. And you'll be like, oh, I created this awesome game about Belgium that's in this like game series like no one knows. you know?
Right. It's just
Um,
for me, really, so it's fine.
yeah. So what do you think why is she in Belgium? Like why would she be there?
Okay, so I had this idea. Prudence Rutherford, she's in a few of the games,
Prudence
has a
Rutherford.
friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yes.
high pitch.
She has a friend who had something stolen from her, and so she's like recommended Nancy to her friend, and it turns out that this thief is like holding this item ransom and has like all of these riddles and puzzles you have to solve throughout the game in order to like, so every time you solve something, you get like a number, and then those numbers become like a GPS coordinate that leads to the vault where this is being held. And
Wow.
so it's a little elaborate. It's fine. So it's like basically the whole game is like a treasure hunt, which I really like Nancy Drew games that have those where usually it's like a historical journal, where you have to like follow all these clues from a long time ago. So
Yeah,
it's
so
kind
like
of,
Shadow Ranch or Treasure in the Royal Tower, or which I know is another one of your favorites. Um,
yes.
or like there's
Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon.
yeah, which is one of my favorites. So
That's a
Um,
great one, yeah.
so like that, there definitely I feel like would be a lot of support because those are probably, I mean, Last Chant of Blue Moon Canyon is not as popular as like Shadow Ranch or Royal Tower, but I think that in like the fandom it's popular. So it would be in like the Tumblr community it's popular, but even probably less so in like outside of Tumblr. But so I think it would be a lot of fun to pick back up with an idea of, oh, she's given clues and she must walk around this foreign country and,
Right.
and
Yeah,
totally
so
explore it at the same time.
mhm. So I was thinking, like, instead of it being like written in a journal by somebody a long time ago, it's like the thief is like telling you things like through like a walkie-talkie, and so it's like kind of like a live action version of that, I guess.
Yeah, so sort of like the way Cathedral would talk to her in Silent Spy. Like,
Yeah.
basically like it's with walkie-talkies and you can't tell who it is. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
That was
then there's no like tracing like a cell phone or something, like, you sometimes you have to go old school to like be smart.
right, and that was such a good part of I feel like of Silent Spy was like when are they going to call next? Like what are they going to say? So I think that would be a lot of good
Right.
suspense. Like when are they going to call again? Like what's the next clue going to be? And this sounds interesting. Um,
Yeah.
so, so she stumbled across it because Prudence recommended her,
Hmm.
which we all love. We all love Prudence. To your knowledge, like at least to your knowledge, like there's not really a Belgium like book, is there? Like she doesn't really go to Belgium in any of the books that you know of.
Not that I know of, but
Yeah,
there's a lot of books I haven't read,
right.
so
I
I
don't think
can't say
they're.
for sure.
I don't think that they're quite exactly there, but there might be. Um,
Hmm.
where in Belgium is she at? Is she in Brussels or?
So I was looking up small towns in Belgium, and I
Oh yeah.
found this like little gem. It's called Denant. I don't know how to pronounce it. Um, but basically, like you're gonna be going all throughout this town in the game, and hopefully, when this podcast is posted, I'm gonna have like post some pictures so that you guys have a visual of like what I'm talking about here.
That would be a lot of
um,
fun.
but it's just like this really small picturesque town. It's like on a river, but there's like these high cliffs, and there's like this citadel or like this big fortress on the top of the cliffs with
Wow.
this like giant courtyard in the middle, and then like at the base of the cliffs are like all the buildings, and then on the right there's like this giant church with this cool like onion shaped dome. And so there's this cable car that like goes from the church up to the citadel at like the top of the cliffs. And so I just feel like there's a lot of cool things in this town. There's like caves and a chocolate factory we're gonna see, and so lots of cool places to explore.
I'm interested to hear you talk about cable cars because I feel like that was something that Message in a Haunted Mansion was lacking because like we were in San Francisco and like we didn't really like leave the mansion, so like there was no like cable
Right.
car experience.
Hmm.
Um, I'm like maybe we should like take a cable car just like down the street to like buy like a tool to fix the house, and then I would have been satisfied. But
Yeah, that would have been cool.
but I'm like there is no cable cars in Message in a Haunted Mansion, and it made me so sad. Um, but if that's
So,
really and for everyone out there like listening, like the point of this is to like try to imagine in your head what like you think this would look like. Like I'm imagining like super like cool like scenarios like visuals in my head that are helping me, and so I think that's a really good thing to do if you're listening. Like just try to think about what this might look like and how it might maybe be different from what Cami's talking about. Like how it like how you would picture what she's describing happen on the screen. So but
mhm.
anyway, continue. Sorry, I
No,
forgot to
you're
add
good.
earlier.
Yeah, so the cable car is not like it's like on a wire, so like it's like a suspended cable. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay. Um so there's definitely going to be like I don't know, some sort of like puzzle in there, like the case something happens and like the cable car gets like jammed and you have to like fix the gears or the wires or something, and you can fail and like the cable car
Yeah,
will like crash
it
down or
goes
something.
crazy, and then there's like, yeah, and then it goes crazy and just wrecks, and she's like, "Well, darn!" And then you second chance. Yeah,
Yeah.
like some kind of like wire puzzle. I see what you're saying.
Mhm. I'm like afraid of heights, so I just feel like this would be like super high tension, but maybe not for other people. But for me, I'm like, oh, that sounds really scary. Just riding in it would freak me out. But
So with the cable car, I'm sure
mhm.
comes a cable car attendant, or like a person that drives or runs it.
Yes, so that's one of the characters in the game.
Oh,
Um,
fun.
so let's see. Do we want to go into characters now?
We can if we can always. Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's go into characters because I think that you've created some great ones, and they need to be born and they need to have like names and
Yes.
that it would so essentially like be born and be christened. Um, but I think this is a good merge into your characters. So
Okay.
there was definitely a cable car attendant.
Yes, so he's English. He came from England. He's very like flirty. You know how sometimes there's like guys in the games that always flirt with Nancy. Um and you always like, well, I always wanted to be like, yeah, like flirt back, but Nancy's always like, "Oh, I have a boyfriend."
Alec fail.
Yeah. So
So
so he's like that kind of, he fills that role in this game. But he hears
he's
like
like
all the,
younger.
yeah, I would
Yeah,
say
he's
like
not, so it's like
in his
not weird.
20s.
It's like
No, no,
not
no.
weird. He's not like older, like because there's been some like characters that have been way older than her, and it's like, why is this happening? You know what I'm saying? Like, why is this happening in a kid's game? Um,
No, 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 not a creepy guy,
closer
no.
closer to her age than most other
Hmm.
people that have hit on her in the games. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Um, so he doesn't have a name. I find it really hard to commit to naming characters, and so I was hoping you could help me think of names for these people.
Well, since we're in Belgium and there's mention of chocolate, he should be
Yes.
named like Augustus. Like after because you cannot have a game that's like Belgian chocolate and not have a character that's like basically Augustus Gloop. Like, so let's call him Augustus. So Augustus is the cable car man. Um,
Okay,
so his name
Augustus.
is Augustus. So Augustus is drives cable cars and is very flirtatious.
Yes.
Great.
He also like shares throughout the game. He like whatever gossip he overhears of like the people that are, he's just like going up and down the hill basically. And so he listens to everyone's conversation. So any good gossip, he like passes along to Nancy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So there's
So
kind of like a gossip kind of feel too, like what Waverly Academy had. Like you're just hearing a bunch of gossip about the town and um, like is it about like characters that you know, or is it like characters that like he's like I heard a townsperson say this, or is it like characters that you actually know?
I think it could be a mixture of both. Like
Yeah.
definitely like the more like juicy ones would be about other characters in the game.
Right.
Um but then maybe there's like, other random fictional characters that we just hear like really funny things about. Like how like you said in Waverly Academy, like you overhear the girls like gossiping about Mr. Harris, that teacher. And so maybe there's like a running gag like that too.
Or maybe there could be like a cut scene where she's like riding in the cable car and he's just like talking to himself about this like gossip that he's heard. Like you know how like there was like a cut scene in Silent Spy with like she's riding on the train and you can like see like the landscape passing by.
Yeah.
Like it's just like a cable car, like she's riding on the cable car and he's just talking to himself about this gossip he heard today, and then she's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna listen in." That would be fun. That would be funny.
That would be, yeah.
So we have basically Augustus Gloop, who is a cable car instructor, and talks to himself about gossip.
Yeah.
So we're at a great start here. Um, great.
Okay, so we've mentioned the chocolate factory, right? And so
Yes.
that's another location in the game, but there's also a chocolatier. She's a French woman. She like met her husband. He's from Belgium, and they like met at this like chocolate sculpture class, and so that's why she lives in Belgium now. And so Nancy like goes to like ask her for help with like whatever puzzle she's working on, right? And the like chocolatier like wants nothing to do with Nancy. She's like, if you can't prove that you know how to correctly temper chocolate, then I'm not going to talk to you.
So she's forced to like, so like Nancy does other people's chores cliche. She's like forced to like,
basically.
I'm imagining like this assembly line of like, you remember in like Lesson of Lemon Canyon, like the assembly line of Taffy, and like Fatima's there, like if you don't sort this Taffy correct, I'm gonna like punch you in the face. Well, like I'm imagining like a basic like, imagining like a back room where there's just like a bunch of like chocolate tempering and like a bunch of like wrapping chocolates, like, you know, like not Hershey Kisses, but like wrapping like chocolates, and that'd be a lot of fun. So you could not only like temper the chocolate, but like wrap it and like sort it between like white chocolate or regular chocolate, and, you know, I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I thought that could be like a fun like mini game, like doing chocolate work, or like make your own chocolate bar or something, like, you know, like random little cooking mini game or taking orders or something like that.
Yeah. Interesting. And maybe a potential like death scene of that could be like, maybe there's like an ingredient that's expired, kind of like DDI, like Deception Island, where like the sandwiches, like there's an ingredient that's expired. If you put it in there like and eat it, like you get sick and like the game ends. Or like maybe like if there's actual machinery involved, maybe she could like hit the wrong thing and it like hurts her, or there'd be a lot of fun potential death scenes to do with that, I think.
Or even just like if you do, I was thinking like probably like Nancy doesn't know how to correctly temper chocolate, right? Like it's this process of like you have to warm the chocolate up, you have to cool it down, and like anyway, so when she fails, like the lady like kicks her out of the chocolate factory, and so part of the game is like later on you have to figure out a way to like sneak back in, because there's still stuff in there that you need to learn.
So I am surprised at how much of this podcast so far has been like Willy Wonka alternatives.
Look, I am such a fan of Willy Wonka. This was also part of my fantasy, was like going to a chocolate factory.
I played Grandpa Joe when I was in high school. So like I'm imagining her like sticking to the air vent and then like falling down and like just like not, you know, like the chocolatier's like, don't sneak in the chocolate factory at night, but she disobeys, and like so it's like a Willy Wonka spinoff with like a character named Augustus and like a chocolate factory.
I actually really love this. Yeah.
I'm here for this. But I could just like see her crawling through the air vents and like something going wrong, and it'd be just like a Willy Wonka, like one of the kids like disobeyed, and but I think that's a great chore and and I can imagine also like a potential like gift shop in there, and like like, and like the walls would be like decorated with like a bunch of chocolate decoration, not like actual chocolate, but like
chocolate art.
Like, like pictures of people holding chocolate, or like and so your idea with the factory is that like, do you have access to like just this main room and then like the prep area, or can you like take a tour and see a bunch of stuff? Or
I would love to do a full tour, because that was one of the things I was going to do when I was going to go to Belgium. So I would love to like see, and there's just like, I don't know, giant vats of chocolate and like people working and making chocolates. I don't know, different fillings and things like that.
Nancy finds a golden ticket and then she gives it to the chocolatier and is like, here, I found this on the street. What can I do with this? And she's like, oh, it's a free tour. And so it's kind of like a whale watching tour. Like a whale watching tour, but with the golden ticket in a chocolate factory.
That sounds amazing.
I'm here for this. I'm here for this copyright infringement. Um,
Me
but
too.
this woman kind of gives me like Anya Mittelmeier vibes. I could see her like being dressed kind of like Anya was.
Yeah, yeah.
Like kind of like
Uh-huh.
this like Belgium German dress, and she's like in the gift shop. Um, but I think that she's giving me vibes of like somebody named like Monique.
Monique, yeah. Love
So
it.
let's christen her Monique. So
Yeah.
we have Augustus the cable car guy, and then Monique the chocolatier.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yes.
So there's our two potential characters that you meet around Belgium. Who else?
So I mentioned that there's that Citadel, which was like this stronghold that the town had like back in like the 7th century, but it's kind of been like bombed and stuff throughout the years, and so they've rebuilt it. Um, but like you can tour there now and like learn about the history of like World War I and everything. So there's like staff members that are like in the courtyard, like ready to answer your questions and tell you about the history. And so that's another location. And then like another, like one of those like staff members at the Citadel is one of the characters in the game too. And they can like give us information that we need. Like if we have to answer trivia questions or something for the thief, or solve
Yes,
his riddles.
a citadel is kind of like a is it like a church or a like a church type building or like a cathedral, or is it am I on the
It's
wrong path here?
it's more like a fortress.
Oh, a fortress. Okay.
Yeah. The name is kind of an odd name, but that's what it's called in this actual town. So in the game, I am sure it would be like a fictionalized version of this town, but I was
Right.
just going off of this real town, has this real citadel, that's what it's called. So um so
So
what
like
was there
this is kind of like your not like a tour guide, but like a tour guide, but he knows a bit more than like the cable car guy does, or like the or Monique does. Like he knows pretty much
yeah.
like everything. So like if and then so maybe like a potential of that is Nancy can go to him and be like, "Hey, I need help with blah blah blah," and he can be like, "Okay, but first you have to do this for me," you know? Um,
Yeah, for sure. I could definitely see that happening.
yeah,
Especially, I was thinking like because you take the cable car from the church to the Citadel. So I think like if he makes us like go do things for him in town, so you're kind of like riding the cable car, many times throughout the game, not just like a one-time thing.
yeah, like running errands like the car and Secret of the Old Clock. Uh, um,
Yeah.
I would also be interested in like this building having like a security room and just to like
Ooh.
see what would happen if like there was like like I'm imagining like kind of like captive curse, like there's a security booth and like you like you can like look through the cameras and like see suspicious activity in the courtyard, like maybe like the thief appears and she's like, that's the thief,
Yes.
but he's like wearing a cloak or he's wearing a mask and I can't see what he looks like or what she looks like. So I think that would be a lot of fun if there was like a security room that you had to sneak into like at night or something, um, just to see like the surroundings of the Citadel.
Yeah, that sounds super cool. I'm here for that. I love Nancy Drew games where you really feel like a detective when you're playing, and so like doing things like looking at security feeds or like taking fingerprints and things like that. I love when they add those kind of things in the game. So
Yeah, that is totally accurate. And this is a good character to like cast suspicion on because you can be like, well, does he know too much about Belgium where he is able to know like where to hide this stolen property at, you know? So it's like
hmm
that makes him suspicious automatically because you're like, well, he knows everything. He'll know where to hide something that he stole. So that's
yeah.
interesting. A very good character to like cast some shade on a little bit. um, and I see him like wearing like a hat and um, like kind of like a maybe like a hat with like the Belgian flag on it, or like a
Oh
t-shirt
yeah, yeah.
with the Belgian flag on it. Um, but I think he's giving me vibes of like somebody named Mark, but like Mark spelled with a C. Like
I was just
M-A-R-C.
thinking that when you said
Yeah,
Mark, I was like, yeah, but with a C.
Mark with the C, M-A-R-C. So let's call him Mark.
Okay.
So Mark is the tour guide character for the Citadel.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Augustus, Monique, and Mark.
Yeah.
Great.
We have a
And so
couple more characters.
yeah, because you mentioned earlier caves. So there must be like a cave character.
Yes. So this caves, they have like waterfalls inside the caves here. And you can like take a tour of the caves and there's this like tour guide. I was like reading reviews on like TripAdvisor and
Oh
everyone was
yeah.
like, yeah, he's like super enthusiastic and he speaks all these languages so he can like, depending on like what people are there, he like speaks to each group. He'll like group people by like language they speak, and so he's an actual tour guide. This like Citadel guy, he's not taking you on a tour, but this guy is like you tour through the caves, and so
Yeah, he's like there so you don't hurt yourself pretty much.
yeah, and he tells you
Yeah,
like,
so like you don't fall to your death.
mm-hmm.
Um, um, I agree that we need to have a bit more cave in the series because I was so disappointed in the lack of like cave and Shattered Medallion. Like there was very little cave. It was like at the very end, and like it was just like rolling through the cave. Um,
Yeah,
but like I think it'd be a great like maze type challenge. Like if you get
yes,
lost and go the wrong way, maybe she like falls to her death, or she um like gets lost and can't get out. Um,
mm-hmm. I was thinking like there could be a puzzle in the caves, like in Legend of the Crystal Skull when you have like that shovel and you're like at I think it's Charlie Wicker's grave or whatever, and it
right.
like tells you like directions you have to go or like how many paces in this direction, like some kind of puzzle like that where you have to like follow specific directions and steps to like work your way through the cave to some point in there.
Yeah, that sounds very great and very on par to what we're used to playing the games. So
Mm-hmm.
that sounds great. Um, he he reminds me a lot of Zoo from Danger by Design, the guy that was like
Oh,
in love with JJ and like gave her like the key to get into the catacombs.
yeah.
Um, I think we should name him Luke with a C, Luc.
Luke?
Yeah, with a C, like Luc.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
You're good with that?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, Luke. Luke is the cave spelunking man.
Yeah. He's
I
a
wrote
spelunker.
caveman, and that's like a totally different thing. But
Caveman.
uh, um, so he's actually like in disguise. He's an actual like caveman from the 1700s. Um, but before that, never mind. Um, is is there more characters, or is that
Yes. So
great?
couple more. So one
Oh wow,
is
good.
this like random tourist. She's just kind of like everywhere that Nancy goes, she like appears somewhere like off to the side, somewhere in the shadow. She like has these like big sunglasses that kind of help hide her face. And so like if you ever try to approach her, she just kind of like walks away, and so like you can never talk to her for I don't know, half of the game or something.
So she's like kind of like Samantha Quick, like a Samantha Quick persona, where she's just kind of like disinterested in everyone and um, looking super shady with like sunglasses on and just kind of like hiding in the corner kind of thing.
Yeah, I think probably at the beginning of the game you might not notice her, but then like as the game goes on, she like is always around. She's like shopping for chocolates when you're there, or she's like also on the cave tour, or like it starts to become suspicious over time.
Yeah, so eventually like Nancy's like, she's following me
Yeah.
or like something like that. Like I think she's following me or she knows something that maybe I don't, or she knows more than me, or she um is like really rather interested in me and I don't know why. Um
Hmm.
so I think it would be cool if like we could like look inside her bag and we see a bunch of like maybe identifications or like
Yeah.
um maybe she's been like writing down what Nancy's been doing since she's been in Belgium, and like
Oh
she's been like writing
yeah.
down everywhere that she's went. And so she's like, well, why are you doing this? It's suspicious, and like that could be another reason as to why it might be her as the culprit.
Yes, I love that.
That would
Like
be a lot of
her
fun to
taking
explore.
notes on what we've been doing. That's like super creepy.
Yeah, and then some of the places like Nancy's like, well, I didn't even see you there. Like I didn't know you were there. So it's like,
Oh yeah. Like she sees that like we snuck back into the chocolate factory at night, or she like saw us in the security room or something, like where we thought we were being super sneaky, but then she was watching.
yeah, like there's like a picture of like Nancy's shadow, so she'll never see her face, just like a shadow of like her,
Yeah.
her like sitting in the security booth chair, and you're like, how are you there? Like, were you in the van or something? Uh, uh, so is she like a tourist from like America, or is she of a different ethnicity? Like is she touring from like another European country, or?
Yeah, I thought she could be from Spain.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We need more Spanish characters in the series.
Yes.
Um,
Spanish.
I always love seeing Spanish people. She gives me like she would be named like Consuela. I don't know. That's like the first thing that came to my head was like Consuela, or like I don't want to call. We've already used Lupe and Icicle Creek, so she can't be Lupe unless it actually is Lupe Comier, like watching her instead of watching
It's not
birds.
her.
Uh, um, so maybe like Consuela or like Tasha, like Tatia, or Carmen Sandiego. She's actually
Carmen. Let's call
yeah.
her Carmen. I love
She's
that
a,
name, Carmen.
she's actual Carmen Sandiego. Just following her.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll call Carmen the tourist. So we're up to 5 characters. So we're like merging all Midnight in Salem level characters, which is great. So
the last character, I don't know, it's like she could just be like over the phone or in person. I don't know, like, but she's like the lady that hired us. So the friend of Prudence. She's like super rich, has all these, expensive things just waiting to be stolen, right?
right,
And
as you do.
as rich people do.
Yeah.
And so I kind of get this vibe from her that like she like wants us to find her stolen item, but she won't tell us what it is. And then whenever we try to like talk to her, she's just like really difficult to like get a hold of. And so I feel like she just kind of made me more like a phone friend, since we already have like 5.
Yeah, that would be fun because I feel like it would have to be a must that she has like this really, really high pitched, annoying voice like what Prudence has. Like Prudence can be like, "Oh, I met so and so in Wealthy Moms of America" or something like that, and then like she sounds just like Prudence does, and so like Nancy is like, "Oh my God, this again." You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
or like maybe she could be somebody who like Prudence has talked about before in a previous game, because there's been a couple of like Prudence has like name dropped some people before.
Oh yeah.
Maybe that would be like a good way to like connect. I can't remember like who she's name dropped, but I know she's like done some name dropping before.
That would be
So
cool, yeah.
that would be a lot of fun to explore. But I feel like she like must have this annoying like Prudence type voice, or like this like snobbish voice.
Definitely
And
Snoopy, yeah.
maybe she can be like, well, I don't want to tell you what was stolen because if you find it, you might steal it too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you might just be like, well, screw that, I'm going to steal it too, and I'm not going to give it back because I know what it is. But like that, I could see that being frustrating because it's like, well, what am I looking for? But that would be
Yeah.
that makes her really suspicious because it's like if you're not going to tell me what it is, like how do I know you're not setting me up to like be in danger, or you're not setting me up to like be framed for something? You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's very interesting to think about. Very,
Yeah,
very.
because I feel like, normally the person that hires you to solve the mystery, you feel like you should be able to trust them, but sometimes they are the culprit too. So
Yeah, I will never
she's a little
trust.
suspicious.
I will never trust Paula Santos from Haunted Carousel. I do not like that woman at all.
She's the
I know that
worst.
I know that Maddie, Professor Hotchkiss' tea is going to be like, no, Paula Santos, I love her. I refuse to hear such slander. But because when we did the Haunted Carousel podcast for the first podcast, like she was like, Paula Santos is my mom, and but like I do not trust her. But anyway, I'm viewing like Esther or like Esther name. Like I don't want to call her Ethel because there's already been an Ethel, and there can only be one Ethel in the series.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more men are Ethel. But like I feel like she would be like Esther, or maybe she's like a lady, like Lady Esther of I don't know.
Yeah, Lady
Like
Esther.
she's a lady or a duchess. Yeah. Like a lady or a duchess or something like that. So we'll call her just for the sake of the podcast, Lady Esther.
Yeah, that works for me.
So we have our characters are Lady Esther, Carmen the Spanish tourist, Augustus, but not Gloop, just Augustus, the cable car man.
Yeah.
Monique the chocolatier, Mark with the C, the tour guide man, and then Luke with another C, the cave spelunker dude. So since we're talking about this person being a phone friend, this is a good transition into the other phone friends that you might want to see in this game. Who would be good phone friends for this game?
Okay, so I felt like the Hardy Boys, but
of course,
specifically Frank.
Oh yeah,
but we can have Joe in there too.
Joe like pops up randomly and he's like, "I just tried to cook a cheeseburger and I blew up the grill," or he'll be like, "I went down the street to check the mail, but the mailbox was somebody hit the mailbox with the car," like just random Joe crap. And then Frank's like, "Yes, Joe," and then he'll get back to flirting with Nancy the whole time. Perfect.
Yeah.
And it has to be Jonah Von Spreeken. Nobody else can do it.
For sure. Yeah.
Sorry, Katie, aka Nancy Pants, but Jonah Von Spreeken is our Frank Hardy in this game. Yeah, we have to have Frank Hardy for sure. There's nobody else.
And then I thought it'd be Prudence Rutherford, because I feel like she's going to be calling us to check on, like, have you solved my friend's case yet? But in her voice, you know.
Yeah, fun fact, she's voiced by a woman. I thought it was a man, like, my whole life. I thought it was a man like doing, like, a drag queen voice, but, like, it's a woman. And I'm like, wow, my mind is blown by that. I've always thought it was a man.
That is so fun fact. This woman was voiced by a woman.
Yeah, because, like, Argle Thump, like, does an amazing impression of her, and he's a man. So I'm like, I thought it was a man, like, my whole life, but it's a woman. And I'm like, wow, because it sounds like a man doing a woman accent.
Because it's so fake, yeah. So
yeah, and it's so like falsetto-y and like, yeah. So we definitely have Prudence, and we'll finally. I would love to like finally, you know how in like Ghost of Thornton Hall and stuff, like she has like little avatars of her phone friends, but it's like concept art kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I would love to like bring that back and have like a concept art of Prudence so we can finally see what she looks like.
Yeah, that would be great.
Like I know like there's like that picture in Scarlet Hand of like the side of her face, but like that doesn't count. We need to actually like see what she looks like.
Yeah.
So I would love to like bring that back for this game, like the concept art icons for the phone friends.
And then one more phone friend I thought of was Sunny June.
Yes, we love Sunny June.
Yeah, we never get to talk to him on the phone. Like you see him. I mean, obviously the Shattered Medallion we talked to him, but
yeah, and that game kind of erased him from the canon because he's like, I'm going on and moving on to bigger and better things now instead of aliens. I think that's what happened in that game. But so yeah, that would be fun for him to just like be a phone friend. But since like this isn't like an alien mystery, it's just kind of like he's just talking about not alien stuff, you know.
He's just there. Maybe he once worked at the chocolate factory, you know, or something.
Yeah, and you find his like notes, and he has like drawings of like Monique, and they're like kind of like how his drawings of Manette were, like they're super like over exaggerated. Like she has like a big head and like a big finger pointing at him, and like
Yeah.
Like this can give you like maybe like um access to like maybe her computer or stuff like that.
Ooh, yeah.
Like he'll have like the password to her computer in the notes. Maybe like
Mm-hmm.
maybe like in that prep room there's like lockers and like his locker is still there. Okay, so with having his locker comes the opportunity to be like, hey, I know this person and I've met him before, and maybe that could be why she calls him.
Yeah, I think that would
But
work.
he's like, nah, I'm no longer doing alien stuff, sorry. And she's like, oh, darn. He's like, I crossed that off my list when I was in um, New Zealand with you. um, so I'm curious if there's like things that happen that make these characters suspicious. Like, does she overhear them saying something suspicious, or can she like sneak in and see something? Do you have any ideas
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, I've thought about it a little bit, not as much as I would like, okay? I really wanted to like prepare the full like script for this, but did not have time. So, um one thing I thought, so Augustus, the cable car attendant, he overhears all the gossip, right? And so he tells Nancy that the cave guy, Luke, is blackmailing Mark, the guy that
Ooh.
works at the Citadel. And so when Nancy goes to like confront them, she finds out that actually they're dating.
Oh my gosh. I love when like two characters are like, oh, we don't know each other, and then surprise, they're dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like that, I like that dynamic of like, like Tex and Mary in Shadow Ranch.
Yeah, that's still such an
Or
interesting
like
pairing to me. I've never understood it.
it is, right? I don't know. I ship it though, but
We digress.
um yes. So thinking of Mark, so Mark is the guy, he works at the Citadel, and Nancy overhears like this like suspicious phone call he has where he's like, it's taken care of, no one has to find out, or something like that.
Ooh.
We don't know what that means. And then Luke, the cave guy, Nancy like finds his backpack and snoops in there, and there's a walkie-talkie, which is how she's been communicating with the thief, and so that's a huge red flag.
Yeah, that's definitely like I would not trust that. I don't want to vibe with that. You know. um,
Yeah.
this is great stuff. This is
It's just
great,
like who.
great suspicion, and then great tension. It's great.
Thank you. And then the last kind of thing I had was, so for the tourist, Carmen, she eventually, like, somewhere in the game, she, like, leaves this paper behind with, like, a time and a location. And so Nancy goes there to meet her and kind of, like, confronts her, like, she has, like, found, like, those notes, like, describing everything that Nancy's been doing or something. And so Nancy goes to confront her, like, why are you following me and everything? Um, but then we find out she's not actually a tourist, but she's a bodyguard that Lady Esther hired to like keep Nancy safe.
Ooh, that is awesome. I love it.
Or at least that's what she claims. So
Yeah,
we don't
she.
actually
I
know if
thought
she's
you were about
telling
to
the truth.
say. Actually, it turns out she's Samantha Quick. uh, stalking her again. Um, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this is great stuff. Um, so I guess kind of the last direction that we can go. We've talked about a bunch of potential death scenes as we've kind of came across them. What are some like
Yeah.
puzzle ideas that you might can see happening?
So besides ones I've already mentioned, I thought, so part of the game you can go inside of the church, and so there's all these like stained glass windows. So I thought maybe some sort of like, like in Ghost of Thornton Hall, there's like the stained glass that you have to like match up the like right colors next
Oh
to each
yeah,
other
the
or
yep,
something.
yep.
Or some maybe like the tesserae, like you're like creating the image or something with stained glass, some kind of puzzle like that.
Love it.
So you mentioned like fixing like the wires or the gears or something on the cable car.
Yeah, been the chocolate heating and serving.
Yes, the chocolate mini game, and
Possibly
then
them.
yeah, and then like the maze in the caves.
Right.
Also, I don't know how I forgot to mention this earlier, but there's another location. So in this town, this real town in Belgium, the inventor of the saxophone was born there. His name is Adolf Sax. And so there's like this little tiny museum
Saxophone museum.
yeah, about him.
Oh my gosh, that is so cute. I love it.
There's like this bridge in town that has like all these like giant saxophones that are like super colorful artwork, basically like lining the side of this bridge. And so anyway, I thought there could be you learn so like you're in Nancy Drew games, there's like you're playing the game, but you're also learning, right?
Yeah,
And
you're
so
learning about like that
you can
place.
go to the museum and
yeah, or the person maybe who, if they're real, like you're learning about that person's life, like Marie Antoinette or Lizzie Applegate, who wasn't actually real, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I love it.
So I thought in the museum maybe there could be some kind of like one of those organizational puzzles, like where you have to put all the books back in the shelf the right way, or I don't know, something that's kind of a chore but kind of a puzzle, just something low key in there.
I would love to see some kind of word puzzle. Like maybe Carmen like drops a piece of paper and you solve the puzzle and it says something like Lady Esther, and so then the Nancy's like, well, how do you know her? Or not like she doesn't like confront her, but like not she doesn't confront her yet, but like Nancy thinks to herself, well, how does she know who this person is? And then later you find out that she's her bodyguard, if that makes sense. Like so maybe like this puzzle can show you that she knows Lady Esther somehow, but you're not sure how. And then later she's like, "Oh, I'm your bodyguard."
Yeah.
You know? Or maybe like it can give you maybe like a password to someone's phone or computer, and you're like, "Well, how does Carmen have this password to like Augustus's phone or something?" You know what I'm saying? Something like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're like the security booth can have another one of those puzzles, like what Captive Curse had with like you press like the targets and like power goes through the different like circles. You know what I'm talking about? Like the puzzle that it's been used twice already in the series, but it's like the puzzle like where you like press the different channels and like power goes through all of them and you have to get them all green. Yeah, that puzzle. That would be
the power up puzzles.
Yeah, I also this is off topic kind of, but I would love to like buy a bunch of things in the gift shop and like there's a bunch of chocolate for sale. That'd be fun too.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, I think just like another location like to buy things, like a little food stand that sells like Belgian waffles.
Yummy.
Belgium's obviously known for their waffles and also like their French fries, like they're called frites there in Belgium, and they like serve them like with mayonnaise. It sounds super weird, but it's a thing.
I would never do that. So I think that we've covered good ground here to make the case of this Belgium style mystery. I think that it's great. I guess the last kind of thing we can talk about is the culprit. Who's the culprit, and like how did she figure it out, or like what does the end game sequence look like? Spill that kind of tea.
Okay, so I haven't really figured out how Nancy solves this, okay? But the culprit is Augustus.
Oh my gosh, it's Augustus Gloop. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So he's like this cat burglar, and he has like heard about Nancy Drew and kind of like wanted to like pit his own skills against Nancy's, and so he like devised all of these like riddles and puzzles and things around this small town, and So when you solve all the puzzles, you have the GPS coordinates to this vault, and when you open the vault, he's like inside. And
He's like, surprise.
yeah, like I knew you were coming here, so he's very dramatic, if you couldn't tell. And so then he like tries to run off with the stolen item, which is why I can't believe I didn't mention this before, but it's like an original saxophone made by the inventor of the saxophone.
Yeah.
So it's like the first saxophone, right? And so
it's really important to like have back.
Yes,
and
it's
then
a priceless.
Yeah, Lady Esther can be like, well, I owned that because I have $1 billion. And she's like, I bought it as she's like, oh, my 12-year-old wanted to start playing the saxophone, so I bought him the original, like, very first saxophone to start practicing saxophone with, and then that gets stolen.
Yeah.
So she's in this like vault, and he's there, and he's trying to escape.
Yes, and so, look, I couldn't really think of how to get out of this, but she like takes her walkie-talkie and throws it at him to stop him.
And it hits him in the head, and he's like, "Ow!"
Yeah, and then like in Danger on Deception Island, like that kind of ending.
Yeah, right.
And then the bodyguard Carmen, she like steps in and like takes him away for us,
Yeah. Oh, I love it. That's so funny. Just like the idea of like this flying walkie-talkie just like knocking him out cold would be so funny. Or
she has really good aim, I guess.
Yeah, that would be so funny. Since he's the culprit, I think it would be funny if like one of like the pieces of gossip that he tells her is like, oh, I heard Carmen and, just for lack of better people, Carmen and Monique like rendezvousing near the caves. And like, so Nancy goes to the caves, and like he traps her in the caves, and you have to like escape.
Ooh, yeah.
And then,
I feel like there should be like an end game puzzle. I wasn't really sure how to make it a puzzle, so maybe trying to escape through some puzzle, or that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. So great, we really delved into this Belgium game. So the last very important part of the podcast is, what title do we give this game?
Okay, it's maybe a working title, but I thought the Bandits Quest.
Oh, that's perfect.
Because
that's perfect.
He's in charge of it, and he's like the one that's setting us on this adventure through this town, and so the Bandits Quest.
So we have Nancy Drew, the Bandits Quest, and I thought it would be fun to like brainstorm maybe like what the box art would look like. I'm picturing like there's like maybe like, so real quick, like what would he wear? Like, would he like be in all black when he's like doing bandit stuff and like a bandana, or is he like wearing like a different kind of costume? Because whatever he's wearing can be like on the cover art, and there could be like a cable car like flying through the background, and there could be like a piece of chocolate in his hand, something like that. I don't know, or maybe a saxophone in his hand.
He's like eating a truffle.
And there's a saxophone in his hand, and there's like a cable car flying behind him. I can see it in my
yeah, I would like to have the cable car on there. I think that's like it's kind of a clue.
Right.
But also just like it's a cool part of the game.
Right. Yeah, it's the travel method of the game.
But yeah, he'd have to be dressed in kind of like cat burglar clothes, like all black, some sort of mask or something covering his face,
Yeah. And then my kind of final question is, like all of the games, they're like different colors. You know what I'm talking about? Like the discs are different colors. Yes. And that like really sets like the mood of the game. Like, Christopher Thornton Hall is red for fire and stuff like that. So like, what color would you think this like game would be? Like this disc would be?
Well, I don't know that this fits the game, but I just thought like a black disc would be really cool. Yeah. Like gold, like coloring like of the words.
Right. Yeah, that would be really good. Like her silhouette's like gold too. On the disc.
Yeah. Yes.
Great. Well, this is Nancy Drew number something. number like 45 is going to be called
Yeah.
The Bandits Quest, and it's going to be set in Belgium, where there's a bunch of, there's a Citadel, there's cable cars, there's a chocolate factory, there's caves, and there's the characters Carmen, Augustus, Monique, Mark, and Luke, and then Lady Esther.
Yes.
And we have
Lady Esther.
Prudence Rutherford and Frank Hardy, and we have just went all out for this, and I love it.
Uh-huh.
I absolutely love it. So kind of to close, I guess I would like to say thank you, Cami, for being the kind of pilot episode of this podcast. I didn't really know who
You're
else I
welcome.
wanted to do first besides you, because I know that you would have some great ideas, and you did, and it's an amazing concept, and I think that it would be a lot of fun. But with that, this has been episode 1, otherwise known as The Bandits Quest, and I'm Austin.
And I'm Cami.
And we are sleuthing out. Bye.